The biggest weekend of the entire year for fantasy football is coming up this weekend with millions and millions of drafts going on. Today I'm going to be giving you some of my guys, some guys that I've just drafted way too many times. Drop some of your favorite players in the comments below, some guys that you just draft over and over. Doesn't matter how your team starts or finishes, you're getting these guys. Drop them down below and let me know why. But if you like sports podcasts, it's the channel for you. I drop 4 videos a week. If you like sports for content, this is going to be the channel for you, so support us down below. But without further ado, this is the Anomaly Podcast. This is Owen. Let's start off at the quarterback position. Starting off here with Justin Herbert. And again, I did about 100 to 200 mock drafts. I kept track of all of these rankings and numbers. Tua Tagovailoa was my second most drafted quarterback. My number one most drafted quarterback was Justin Herbert. In third place was Jalen Hurts, but again, that was only if I had picks in the early round. However, Justin Herbert, he was my most drafted quarterback, and a lot of that has to do with the new offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore's now in town. He's bringing his pass-happy offense to Los Angeles with a much more loaded offense than Dallas had. And Justin Herbert might explode this year. There's a real possibility he might throw for 50 touchdowns this year, which would put him in the league-winning category. Justin Herbert's currently my quarterback 4 on the season. Might even be top 3. And there's a reason why he's my most drafted quarterback. So let me know what you guys think about that down below. Again, my top 3 drafted quarterbacks are Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and Tua Tagovailoa. Moving over to Aaron Jones. And again, this is not the only guy that I'm going to go into drafts like I want to get this guy, but I just wanted to shed some more light on Aaron Jones as he kind of gets lost in the shuffle there in the middle rounds of your draft. But some of the top-rated running backs I've drafted, of course, Nick Chubb, Ramondre Stevenson, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard. Those are guys that are all going in the first 2 rounds of your drafts. I get a lot of those guys. But, however, in the mid to late rounds, in the 3rd and 4th rounds, I'm drafting Jahmyr Gibbs and Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 guys I love this offseason. Another sleeper for you guys is Jerick McKinnon. You can get him in the 10th round of your drafts. I've drafted him a lot here in 2023. But Aaron Jones, this is a guy that has done nothing but raise in my rankings this entire offseason. He has a first-year starter in Jordan Love to succeed Aaron Rodgers. And young quarterbacks, they love to check down. They love to get the ball out quick and efficiently. Best way to do that is to a running back or a big-body tight end. Aaron Jones fits one of those descriptions. And sure, A.J. Dillon last year in the second half of the year was much more involved, especially in the red zone. But this offense, if it can perform at the level I think they can, it should operate like the offense has the last 2 years. It should be a primarily passing offense, and if that is the case, Aaron Jones should have another great year, catch a ton of passes, and if you're in a PPR league, this is a high-end running back 2 that's going in the 4th or 5th round of your drafts. I think this guy, no doubt, can be a top 10 running back this year. Moving over to the Jordan Addison, the wide receiver position. And if you follow this channel at any point, you know that I'm a big Jordan Addison fan this year, and nothing has changed this entire offseason. Now, I will say some of the top receivers I've drafted, again, Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown, 2 guys that go in the first 5 to 10 picks of your draft. After that, Garrett Wilson is my favorite second-round pick, as well as Chris Olave, Drake London, Zay Flowers. These are all guys that I've drafted a lot, and they're in my top 10 in 2023. But Jordan Addison, this is a guy that's walking into an offense that has lost a lot. They lost Dalvin Cook. They lost out Adam Thielen. That is 163 open targets for someone to take in this offense. And again, I know Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hockenson are great, but they aren't that great. They aren't going to consume all of those targets. That would be an insane workload. And if that is the case, Jefferson and Hockenson should be picks 1 and 2 in your drafts. But Jordan Addison, he's walking into it, 85-plus reception, 1,000-yard season, in my opinion, as that's going to land him the Rookie of the Year for 1. But for 2, he's in an offense with Justin Jefferson, maybe the best receiver in football. We know he's going to be double-teamed each and every play. Jordan Addison is a phenomenal route runner. He's in an offense that needs to score a ton of points, especially with how much they lost defensively. Before we get into the second half of the list, I am opening up some fantasy football leagues this year. If you want to get into one, go ahead and either drop a comment down below on this video or hit us up on Instagram or Threads or TikTok. However you can get a hold of us and I will no doubt throw you into a league. The only thing we ask for is that you are active throughout the entire season. Don't give up if you're 0-2. Again, it's fantasy football, and I'm here to give you advice throughout the entire year. But 12-team full PPR, if we can get that, and if you're interested, drop a comment down below or get at us over on one of the social medias. But moving over to the second half of the list is Calvin Ridley again. This is not my most drafted receiver, but I just wanted to talk about him because this is one that, I'll say this is one that I didn't really need to include because now he's in the third, fourth round. But I wanted to for the sole reason and sole fact that from day one that he was traded to Jacksonville, I said that this guy was going to be a top 10, top 12 wide receiver when he came back to play football. And I made that claim when he was traded to Jacksonville on this channel. And I have proof of it. I have my receipts. And now with how this offense performed last season, it only backs my argument. I mean, this is a top 5 level wide receiver the last time we saw him that's fully rested. He's joining an emerging superstar quarterback on an offense that should be elite in year 2 under Doug Peterson. He is the number 1 wide receiver in this offense. All reports back that. All reports say he's been clearly one of the best players on the field, let alone in the wide receiver room in Jacksonville. If I can draft Calvin Ridley in the 3rd or 4th round this year, I will do that. If I can draft him as value. But he's definitely getting a lot more attention now than he was back at the early offseason. And I mean, if you guys remember, he was going into 8th, 9th round of drafts. Now he's 4 or 5 rounds higher. So if I can get him at value, I'm pulling the trigger on Calvin Ridley. If not, I love to see that he's been climbing up these rankings and that we called this from back when he was traded to Jacksonville. But moving over to the tight end position, OKONKWO. This is a guy who I couldn't pronounce his name the first time I saw him, and now I'm a big fan of just the player. But in order of the tight end position, Mark Andrews is my most drafted tight end, Pat Freiermuth, Dallas Goedert, and then OKONKWO. OKONKWO was only drafted one less time than Dallas Goedert. But regardless, those are my top 4 drafted tight ends in 2023. This is a guy in OKONKWO who had 32 catches, 450 yards, and 3 touchdowns, all from week 10 on, which is primarily when he played. He averaged about 14 yards a catch and 10 yards a target. Basically, that means he's getting about 2 points per reception on a full PPR league. That's amazing, all right? That's like double what you're getting on a normal catch. I am worried about his production if there's anyone under center aside from Ryan Tannehill. However, at the same time, a young quarterback, his best friend is a good running back and a big body, reliable tight end. And OKONKWO fits one of those descriptions. His athleticism, his speed, his playmaking ability with the ball make him a tight end 1 alone. But he's no doubt a top 10 tight end for me, and he's going in the 11th round. If you draft him and he flops, there's no regret for it. It's an 11th round pick. So let's say you start with Travis Kelce or you get Mark Andrews in the 3rd round. Follow that up with OKONKWO because if those guys are older, if they fall to injury at some point in the year, I really believe Chigoziem, if anything, at worst, can be a good trade target for your team at the mid-season mark. I love Chig, and his name is fun to say. I mean, who doesn't want a player like that on your team? But that's going to do it for today's video, as we highlighted 5 or 6 players, but we also mentioned about 25 players that are my most drafted players. So my league mates, if you're watching this, don't listen too closely, right? Just watch it one time through and kind of forget about it. But that is going to do it for today's show. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another podcast where we're going to hand out our final preseason awards for the upcoming NFL season. And of course, Friday, big announcement here. Friday on the channel, we have my final set of rankings I'm going to be releasing here on YouTube. And then also on a Saturday night special one-time thing, we're going to be going live. We're going to be going live for one of my $50 buy-in drafts, as well as the fan league here on the channel. So if you're interested in those leagues, like I mentioned earlier, join, and we will be live streaming on Saturday to get that draft underway, right? So until then, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay happy, stay healthy. We're out.